Good morning and welcome to the number one group of five college football podcast in the world. This is the Group of Five, guys, and our mission is to be the voice for the Group of Five football programs, the voice that the mainstream sports media, God knows they won't be. So we need your help to do that. We need you to follow us on all the social platforms at Group of Five, guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcasts. Subscribe to the channel, leave a 5-star rating and a review. Most importantly, share it with your family and friends, or you can download the Varsity app for free. Listen to the show on there. On this episode, we react to Boise State getting the bye week and the 3 seed, and we react to the rest of the college football playoff field. A lot of coaches on the move already, some gone, some coming, some going. It's all over the place. A lot of players in the portal. We're going to talk about all the championship games from the weekend, and we are going to talk about our incredible trip to West Point, New York. Hope you enjoy the show. Have you had it from somebody born and raised in Lafayette, Louisiana, at a tailgate? Doubt it.
I said Michael Pratt has got to show up and play, and boy did he. 394 yards, 4 touchdowns, 48 rushing yards on the ground, and another touchdown.
Projected getting drafted between the first and third round, that's incredible. The wide receivers are absolutely stacked for the Group of Five.
Yeah, I really appreciate you do for the Group of Five programs, and I think it's great. I think we should get more of this. But you guys are on the forefront of this, and
so I'm thankful for this. I'm glad that you're talking about the Group of Five because I think they get overlooked.
But it's a ton of fun to watch a guy go to the NFL from a Nevada or a Colorado State or a Middle Tennessee or an App State, and fans follow that kid.
Jeff, how good is your Deca Gray coffee this morning?
Oh my goodness, it's so good. I need it bad. I am struggling. Obviously we had the weekend to West Point, and then immediately got back because my oldest son Dominic's basketball game at a Christmas party. Then we had our annual Christmas parade downtown Murfreesboro, little get together with the family and friends at the deli. It's been go, Sprouse.
It doesn't stop, Jeff.
No, it does not.
It's not just a go-go offense we're dealing with; it's a go-go life we have decided to embark on. But look, the Deca Gray coffee. I'm in another Christmas cup here. Look at that thing. You guys know the deal. They've been helping us out this year, supporting us, and make sure you support them. DecaGray.com. Get you the Group of Five guys game day dark roast to order coffee. You click purchase, they roast it, they put it in the bag, they deliver it right to your doorstep. Usually gets there in really like 2 or 3 business days, seems like. Make sure you use our code GOFG, 10% off, plus free shipping. And it is a damn fine coffee, if I might add.
Yes, it is.
Now look, you know what else I do, Jeff? Anytime I get on a plane, it's inevitable that you're gonna have to fight something off the next couple of days. Yeah, you go to Publix and get they got the little glass like immunity shots.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Those, I don't know how many you're supposed to have, but I typically go in there and get the box and just down all of them. Get the vitamin C, the B12, turmeric, all the stuff, the cayenne. It clear you right up.
It does. Those things are awesome. I used to make my own little things, but then how everything else goes, get busy, stop buying the stuff. So convenient to just
another
go in
thing.
there.
Yeah,
I know.
Oh, but they're like $3 though. That's the bad part.
I know. That's why I started making my own.
I know. It's convenience, man.
Well, you're standing on at Mikey Stadium in 25-degree weather for about 3 hours. It's gonna get to you.
I finally got an aisle seat on the plane this time. Really? Yeah, I was in the middle. I got to tell the world about my flight to New York. So I flew ATL Atlanta to LaGuardia on Thursday night. The guy, he followed us on Twitter, so I appreciate the guy. I'm not going to say his name or anything. The guy I was sitting next to had a little too much. But it just was, it was progressing as the flight went. Every time, they made an announcement, I would look and he's pouring another airplane bottle in his Yeti cup or whatever. And I'm like, man, this guy's enjoying this flight. It's for damn sure. But then, aside from a lot of other stuff, we're on the descent, and I got a movie on. I got headphones, earbuds in, and all of a sudden, I don't even know how it goes. What's the song they fight about it? Alabama or Tennessee? They both think it's like their song. It's like spending my dollar.
Yeah.
He starts singing that song loud, like on the plane, and I'm like, take my earbud out. I'm like, bro, I'm like, keep it down, dude. And then everybody, like, I could see everybody in the, like, all the other surrounding sections are like looking back. I'm like, I don't know, dude. But shout out to that guy, man. He's enjoying his flight. It don't bother me. Some people it might get a little worked up about that. But overall, man, smooth sailing, smooth flights. What a trip, man.
Yeah.
What a trip.
It was, I mean, again, we said it on Friday's show. We'd only done like half of, hadn't been to this, inside the stadium yet, and we went and saw some other things. But man, so much history at West Point, and I've always been a bit of a historian. I've always loved it, but I find myself as I'm getting older, you start really diving into American history, world history, watching documentaries on Netflix and that sort of thing. But just being able to go to the museum, go to the cemetery at West Point, you read all these different passages about this war and this battle or this piece of equipment, and like it was just one of the most. It was honestly one of the coolest experiences I've been to in a long time, and it just kind of makes you appreciate everything that's happened in our country's history, and really just a humbling experience, with the people who serve this great nation and have served this great nation to allow us to do the things that we do today. And then, just you could tell, man, it's old. It's been there. The buildings, the town, just everything. What an incredible experience. If anybody ever gets a chance to go to West Point, I would do it. And then we got to do that, not only just go there, but also got to catch a game there. Just, man, I don't think it was on my bucket list, but I'm so glad I did it and got 100%. To experience it.
Yeah, and I think now I want to, West Point's going to be the most historic, right, of any of the three academies. But I think now I kind of want to go see Annapolis.
I think we got to.
And it's funny you talk about all this stuff. I was fascinated by they had little, I don't even like character reenactments of battles and stuff like that, a real small scale. But I was fascinated by that. And then they had we kept looking at the trench. They had the trench warfare, the layout of what the trenches look like, and you don't realize how sophisticated stuff was even back then. You know what I mean? Even in those wars when you think it's all, just everybody's standing there shooting at each other and stuff like that. You don't realize how sophisticated and how there was a reason for everything, and you get to see kind of what that looked like. You get to see the way the trenches were dug, and all through all the different armors, all the different uniforms that we've had as a country. And it was cool, man. It was cool. It was cold, but it was in the museum was under construction, which, whatever. I'm sure it looks really cool from the outside, but you're still going in there to see the things on the inside of it. But you're right, the buildings. I mean, it literally looks like an old fort.
Yeah.
Like all the I'm imagining that's like the dorms, the classrooms, the barracks, all that stuff. So really, really cool. And then, I mean, you can't beat the views.
Trophy Point, man.
Yeah. Unbelievable view of the river. Really cool. Really cool. I definitely think it's got to be on the bucket list, right? Got to be. The cadets, just everything about it is just different. And we talked about it a little bit on Friday, Jeff. It still has some of that purity of college athletics. Nobody on that team is getting in the portal unless, nobody on that team they got from the portal. Okay, everybody on that team got there as a freshman or even a prep school guy. Every student there's been there the whole time. So they're all there together the whole time, right? So your class of 2025, they all showed up at the same time. They all went through basic training together. They all do the same, that class schedule that they always bring up on TV. That's it. They're all doing that. You know, on the athletes, you're just adding the athletics part to it, which makes it even more so. But they all went through basic training. They're all taking really difficult classes together. They're all marching to lunch and all that stuff. And man, it makes you appreciate it. It really does. It was pretty special as far as I'm concerned. But we'll talk about the game and the atmosphere here in a little bit, Jeff. But I want to get into the main topic of discussion for the morning and for the week. And it started yesterday, of course, but the Boise State Broncos, Jeff, 3 seed in the CFP. They're going to get the winner of Penn State SMU in the Fiesta Bowl. I like the draw.
Love the draw.
I like the draw, Jeff.
Love the draw. I mean, before this week, we were going through so many different scenarios of who you could play and what it could be, and we weren't sure if the 4 seed was that going to be the better one or was it the 3 seed. But no, I mean, if you look at it, I think this is possibly the most favorable draw that we could have gotten. Whether it is SMU or Penn State, I think either one of those teams is very
flawed.
Yeah. I mean, every team has flaws, right? That's what you try and take advantage of as a coach when you're going against an opponent. But I feel like the flaws with these two teams can be more easily exposed to the way that Boise plays. Now, Penn State, their physicality worries me a little bit just because up front they are big, they are physical, and we saw what happened. We've seen what happened, and I know Army and Boise are 2 different teams, but you get a team like Notre Dame. I mean, when you get beat up in the trenches, it's tough. Now, I think Boise State is a bigger, more physical team than Army is, just bodies-wise. But, I think you couldn't ask for a better draw, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know the strength of schedule zealots are going to say, oh, Oregon's the number 1 team, and they got the toughest draw. They might. They might have. Either one of them is going to be tough. But I'll say this. Here's the deal. Your goal is to win a national championship, right? You got to win more than that. So you're going to have to win another 2. Yeah. And at that point, everybody's won. So you're not going to have an easy road all the way to the national championship. You might have and none of these games are going to be easy, right? All of these teams were playing for conference championships or winning conference championships. So it's not going to be easy for anybody. And then, look, by the time you're in the second round, I mean, look, Penn State was, number 3 in the country all year long. So, according to the committee. Now, we can say what we want to say about the committee. But I'll tell you, man, I was in Moe's Barbecue after church yesterday watching the college football playoff. And I can't tell you how loud of an inside cheer. I kept it all in when they announced SMU because I've said this before, where I live, it's probably 40% Georgia, 40% Bama, and then like another 20% Auburn in this town. That's all it is. And when that Mustang logo came up on the screen, I was like, yes. And in half of the place started laughing, the Georgia fans, and the other half was like, oh, they started losing their mind. I was cracking up. But, man, you know what, Jeff? A couple things about this, because I can't – first of all, it is baffling. They have become the ESPN and the national sports media is they're way worse than any regular national media ever was. The immediate narrative has become, oh, yeah, why would you schedule anybody in the non-conference if you're in the SEC anymore? They didn't.
Yeah, they haven't.
They played Mercer, Western Kentucky, South Florida, and Wisconsin. Wisconsin went 5-7. South Florida barely got it to bowl eligibility. Western Kentucky, you saw them get beat by 50 just now by Jacksonville State. Mercer is an FCS school. So it's a lie. It's a completely fabricated narrative to try and act like that's not, like, again, Okay, fine. Don't schedule anybody in the non-conference. Schedule 4 FCS schools. But you still lost to Vanderbilt. You still lost to Oklahoma, who went 6-6, and you lost by 21 points to Oklahoma. So it's crazy. It's crazy to me. I mean, you know, it reminds me of politics, Jeff. You know it does. It's like no, we all watched it. We all watched the thing, and like that's not what happened. But they still spin it that way, and it's crazy. And the other part of it is, Jeff, they did it to themselves. All these SEC teams, all they wanted was the money. They had to create this super conference for all the ratings and for all the money. And now we have a couple losses. That's what you get. That's what you get. You wanted all of these teams in the same conference, and then you sit there and talk about how tough your conference is. It's like, well, you're the ones that wanted it to be tough and wanted it that way. And again, it wasn't the tough teams that knocked Alabama out.
That's
right. The crazy part about it. Like, they didn't lose to Georgia, Texas, and Tennessee. They lost to Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, and Tennessee. If they'd have lost to Georgia by a couple points, Texas by a couple points, and Tennessee, which they did by a couple points, I think they probably get in. Whether that's right or not, they probably get in at that point. But man, I don't know. It's crazy. And then the other part of it that's funny, and this is mostly the fans, I think, but they said it a little bit on ESPN. ESPN, boy, they looked like they were crying.
They really did.
I'm telling you, it looked like when CNN and MSNBC had to announce that Trump won the election. That's what it looked like. I mean, Nick Saban looked like he was going to cry. And Herb Street was, I can't say anything, or FSU Twitter is going to attack me. Yeah, bro, that's your job, dude.
What happened? What happened to professional media people? You know, acting a little bit professional. You know what I mean?
It's amazing.
You're acting like my freaking 4-year-old about this entire thing. And I'm so sick of the argument. Like I understand that the SEC is the most difficult conference. I get that. But you've also have benefited from years and years of, you know, this stereotype, this, you know, aura of the SEC, and you've gotten away with so much, especially only playing 8 conference games. And it's like everyone else is playing 9. You know, we talked about this on Friday. Half of your conference would have an additional loss if you played another conference game. And for year after year after year, no wonder why they had so many 1-loss or 2-loss teams. Everybody's like, oh, they're the best teams. It adds to the preseason rankings. More bowl eligible teams means more money. Like more teams possibly getting in the CFP or in the BCS era back then. It's like you've been manipulating the system for so long. And I think you got a little bit out over your skis creating this super conference, and then you get rid of the divisions as well on top of it, and everybody's beating up on each other. It's like, what did you think was going to happen? Did you think that Alabama was going to run the conference forever for the rest of time? The greatest coach of all time leaves, and I think everybody across the board with NIL and transfer portal, the level, the playing field's getting a little bit more level. You're not being able to stack your roster 2 and 3 deep. And this is what you're getting. And again, Suresh, you mentioned it. Your losses are bad. They're bad losses. Whether, you know, Vanderbilt spends $10 million on NIL, they go 6-6. I don't know. There's so many things. My mind's like bouncing all over the place, but
there is so many layers to it. Well,
I love it.
And then, you know,
I had pure joy, Sprouse.
Yeah, I did
pure
too.
joy watching all the Bama crybabies complain that they didn't get to seat at the table.
Well, and here's the other part about it. Is it on one hand, they say, oh, you know, SEC strength of schedule, this and that. And then on the other hand, you know what they say? Well, Texas didn't play anybody all year long. Well, so then
they were also in the Big 12
is
last
half
year.
of the conference nobody then? Is that what we're admitting? Or is it, Jeff, that there's 3 or 4 really good teams in the conference like it has been forever, like every conference in the country has, and this year, those 3 or 4 teams are not quite as good as they normally are. So they lost a couple games. It'll be fine. You'll be fine. Next year, guess who's going to be preseason top 5? Alabama, Georgia, Texas. They're all going to be there. So regardless of what happens in the playoff, and that's, you know, again, that's the other part. Yet how many 9-3 teams are even close, are even in the top 25 right now? So then Herb Street got up there and he was like, oh, I don't say anything. Everybody deserves a participation trophy. It would have been Alabama getting the participation trophy, guys. Ah, man.
And I think,
you know what, like, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I'm so glad, you know, we give the committee a lot of flack. I'm so glad they did not de-emphasize winning your conference. If winning your conference meant nothing, or playing for a conference and losing would penalize you, then why even have conferences to begin with? So I'm glad they at least stood for something. And now you're seeing all these people complain. You know, we had this model for, I don't know, a couple of years now or whatever it's been. Now they're complaining that, well, we should just rank them 1 through 12, and then that's the seeding, and that should happen. We shouldn't be giving buys. It's like, you guys came up with the system. And the committee is just following.
It was going to be.
Yeah.
They came up with it because they thought it was going to be to their advantage. I'm telling you, they wanted all of this. The SEC and the Notre Dame and the Big Ten, they're the ones that came up with this plan. And now they're upset about it because they didn't get it, because their teams didn't perform the way they thought they were going to perform. That's exactly what it is. They thought you'd have one of the SEC teams dominate it, like they have always. And you thought you'd also see in the past with the 4-team and even the 2 teams, you had Alabama and Georgia run through the SEC. But then you typically had LSU with 2 or 3 losses that was kind of good and maybe upset one of them during the year. Or you had an Ole Miss, and that's the team that they wanted in. They didn't realize that now all their teams were going to be like that. And that's what it's the hand they were dealt. It's a tough break. Why? And then they wanted to whine about it. Oh, poor me. It's just honestly embarrassing. But anyway, we got the 3 seed Fiesta Bowl, New Year's Eve, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. We're trying to make it happen. If anybody knows anybody that's got some tickets on the low or flights or a bus to go out there, anybody from the East Coast taking an RV out there, I can,
that's right.
You know, let me know. But
we're
trying to make it happen.
Trying to get credentialed for this thing because we know it's going to be a whole lot more strict than, you know, games we've traveled to the last couple of years, conference championship games. So we got to wait and see. We're going to file today, file for the credentials today, see how it goes. Honestly, we bashed the CFP so much that they're probably, oh, these guys know.
Yeah, maybe so. But yeah, we're fired up for it. Hey, look, a lot of coaches on the move. The Charles Huff thing finally happened. I guess and it seemed like Marshall had already hired Tony Gibson too. That's the extra layer to this thing. It was like
so crazy.
And you know, App State gets their guy. I keep forgetting that guy's name. It's
Dowell Loggins.
Yeah. And look, I'm not going to knock any of these hires because you just don't know. That might be a home run. It's not a splash, but it seems like App State fans are a little nervous about it. I'll tell you, Tim Albin to Charlotte. That's a home run. I feel bad for Ohio, but that's a home run for Charlotte. And it's the opposite of what they've done with, you know, bringing Poggi in and stuff like that. So, and Barry Odom goes to Purdue. Interested to see what that UNLV job. I mean, their AD came out and said they've already taken a bunch of calls. So it's going to be wild, man.
Yeah.
There's been some other ones. There's too many for me to keep up with on the coaching side.
Yeah. And the Huff one is, it's everyone kind of knew it was happening. And you saw this dynamic over the last couple of years between the fan base and Huff. And I mean, him and Albin both. You win a conference championship.
I know.
Deuces.
Well, I'll tell you.
Next spot. And that's
I'll tell you, I found it.
That's
Sorry,
interesting.
Jeff. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say is historically Southern Miss is a great program. Has a lot of history behind it, but they've just not been able to get something going. Interested to see Huff. I like him. Great coach. He's going to Hattiesburg. We're going to see how that dynamic's going to play out. But you really can't go down any if you're a Southern Miss fan. Well, so hopefully they're going to, I'd love to see Southern Miss good.
And the quarterback got in the portal, so interested to see if that's where he's going or if he's going elsewhere. The other thing I'll say, very interesting that both Ohio and Marshall both played so well in their championship game, and probably knowing, Marshall especially, knowing their coach was getting out of there. And then for UNLV, I mean, they played Boise State, right? It's not, they didn't play terrible offensively. They weren't great, but they had known something about Odom going.
Purdue though, it's
know.
money. I'm sure.
Yeah. I don't know.
I wonder if the success of Kurt Signetti going to Indiana has anything to do with, just like, oh man, you can go to a historically pretty bad team in the Big Ten and win right away.
Yeah, well, and sure you're going to see some players from UNLV join him. I don't know how many guys have a lot of time left, but
does the go to Purdue?
Well, see, I don't know. I kept thinking the Go-Go was going to be announced as the head man pretty quickly there, but and I thought he would have been in the mix for one of these other jobs, and he might still be. Can't even remember what else is still open. But I don't know. I think he probably does if he doesn't get a head job.
Yeah.
I'm sure Barry Odom's going to try to bring him.
Huh.
So I don't know. Like, I don't know how much time like Hajj Malik's got left. Does he get in the portal?
I mean, he's like a 6-year
Yeah,
senior.
he played a long time. Ricky White played a long time too. And then of course the portal, man, it's out of control. It really is. It really is bad. And what it is, Jeff, is they're getting in the portal immediately after their last game. So that tells you the conversations have been happening prior to that, which some guys can handle distractions. Some guys can't. So you wonder if some of these last few games, when you see a player or a team that starts playing kind of bad, I mean, you wonder what's going on. You wonder what's going on in the locker room. You wonder if, you look at the Sluka situation from UNLV at the beginning of the year, and you wonder how that affected them. Same thing. You got to wonder if some of these conversations are happening in the locker room. You got to wonder if there's a little bit of animosity with some of the NIL that some guys get versus other guys. I don't know, man. But I just hate every time I pull up my phone, there's a new player in the portal. And, it just sucks. It sucks for the game. It's basically like everybody's in the portal because the conversations and the negotiations are happening before they're in the portal. So it's basically after every season, here's all the players, who's going to pay them the most money to come.
Yeah. I'm so, on one hand, I think it's helped overall the parity of, I think, college football, evening the playing field. But then in another one, it's like, how can you build a program and a roster when every year you're going to have to flip and turn around your top guys? I just don't know how as from a coaching standpoint, it's got to be so incredibly difficult. And now, like, some players aren't even talking to coaches. They're like, talk to my agent. And these agents are taking, I was talking to a coach yesterday. They're taking 15, 20% of the deal. Guys, let's just say it's $100,000 NIL deal. That's 15 or 20 grand that these companies are taking. Literally, honestly, I don't even know what they're doing. Like, they're really not even doing anything. But these kids are like, oh, they see the 100 grand marker and they're like, oh yeah, let's do that. Or they're getting in the portal because technically they're not supposed to negotiate NIL unless they're in the portal. So it's incentivizing agents and people and even players to get into the portal. So then from a coach, like, how do you handle that? Because I'm sure it depends on the quality of the player, how good the player is. Because on one hand, you got kids that probably aren't seeing the field much and they get in the portal and teams are like, all right, well, if you're getting in the portal, you're completely shut off from us. We're not going to help you. We're not going to deal with you. You're leaving us. But if it's your top guy, you got to keep that relationship just in case something happens. You want that good player back. It's just there's so many levels and layers to this dynamic. I don't know how the hell you keep up with it all.
Yeah, and you wonder too, some of the guys that do get in the portal, some of the top guys, how much of it is, I just want to test. I just want to test the waters a little bit. It's like in the NFL, I just want to test free agency, see what I'm worth. And then you might come back to the same team or not. But and then, again, we kind of joke about it, but you look at these guys. I mean, you look at like TJ Finley. He's in the portal again for like the 5th time. You know what I mean? So at some point, right, what are you looking for at that point? And then at that point too, it's like you haven't necessarily transferred up, So where to now? Because at some point, and I don't know, man, if I'm a coach, I don't want that. I don't know. I'll take a transfer that, played somewhere for 3 years or graduated and everybody wants to make fun of Dabo. Everybody wants to make fun of Dabo. They won the conference again, in the playoff again.
He kind of called everybody out too.
He did. I weirdly enough, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I'm kind of rooting for Clemson a little bit because again, everybody thinks they don't belong in because they lost to South Carolina or they lost to Georgia, and they go play another SEC team on the road. I'd love to see them knock them off.
Yeah.
I would love to see it. Absolutely love to see it. But anyway, I was going to talk about, most of the bowl games have been announced, and I was going to ask you what games you're most excited for. But to be honest with you, Jeff, half of them probably aren't even going to get played because people aren't going to have enough players.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do in that situation? I mean, you're going to have
it's going to be like the COVID year. I feel like they're going to have to cancel them.
No, they'll have play. I mean, you'll have a lot of young guys is what you're going to have. You're going to have a lot of freshmen and sophomores playing. From a betting standpoint, this is going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch a single one.
I mean, you're basically just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
See who's going to win. But there's been, I mean, I don't know. There's
a couple good ones. Tulane in Florida is a really good, would be a really good one.
Mensa's in the portal. You got other guys that are getting in. I don't know, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, they've got to do something, man. Make it January 1 before you can get in the portal. Make it a real short window.
Yeah.
I mean, they have all these guidelines for high school kids, right? Dead periods and signing periods and visit periods and all that stuff. Like, if they have that with the portal, it doesn't seem like it because you get reports all season long about guys getting in the portal.
Yeah.
So, it's or you get, I guess you get the report that says so-and-so plans to enter the portal. You get some report, which that's planted by an agent or whatever when they do stuff like that. But you have that happening all year long. And again, it's affecting outcomes of games, outcomes of seasons. And when you start thinking about it, from a higher view, like a 30,000 foot view, it's like, coaches' paychecks are incentivized based on how many wins they get or winning a bowl game or making a bowl game or whatever. So you're going to have typically when people's money starts getting messed with is when change happens. So you're seeing stuff like that. Man, you're seeing the on-field product get worse, in my opinion, especially at the NFL level. So I think a lot of it's got to do with the portal.
I tell you a game I'm excited for. The Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl.
Yeah.
Miami and Colorado State. That could potentially be a good one. Marshall versus Army in the
that would have been really good
Independence Bowl. Yeah.
And so Army's going to have their whole team.
They're gonna be.
Ain't nobody leaving.
I don't know what the spread is on that game, but take it.
Take Army, yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of, so we got to talk about the rest of our West Point trip. So I want to say something too, because we asked Tim Pernetti, the AAC commissioner down there. We got out there on the field. Jeff and I did like 3 hours before the game, and they started testing playing the music, testing the music a little bit. They had good music, loud music, good sound system, and everything. And we were talking to each other like, man, this is good. This is
bobbing.
This is West Point too here. Now they're playing some good stuff. And so we asked the AAC guys how much of the in-game was controlled by the conference and how much did they let Army do it. And they said, it's all Army. It's all the school, which I can tell you, I don't know if they still do it this way, but I can tell you Conference USA used to come in and take over the whole thing. And I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it when Middle hosted the Conference USA Championship against UAB. UAB had the ball. It was a big third down. And all of a sudden they started playing, what's the name of that song? I don't even know the name of the song. I got yeah. What the heck is the name of that?
Mo Bamba?
Yeah, Mo Bamba. They started playing Mo Bamba, and I was like, well, wait a minute, guys. I'm sorry, Middle had the ball. The Middle had the ball.
Yeah.
I'm saying, wait a minute, guys. Why are we trying to make the crowd limited at that game? Why are we trying to make the crowd that way? We got the ball. Then you realize it's the conference doing it. So there's no in-game. There's no momentum with the crowd getting up or getting down or the music going for the home team. And I didn't like it at all. And, when we talked to Tim Pernetti and the AAC guys, it's like, no, well, Army's earned the right to host a home game. Let it be a home game. And I loved it. And I think that atmosphere was fantastic. Not a huge crowd, really, but the cadets
were
rowdy. They were rowdy.
Now I wonder how much of that was 27 degrees and an 8 p.m. kick. That could have been some of it, but I thought atmosphere was awesome.
Decent.
Yeah, I mean, it was cracking. I almost blew my eardrum out with the damn cannon. I'm over there. I got my phone, I got my gimbal, and I'm filming, and all of a sudden and I'd forget. It'd be like
Every
bang,
time.
and I'd be like,
yeah. I got to tell you, we were making fun of that guy for trying to sue Georgia Southern, but
we may have a case.
Yeah, he might have a case. He might have a case. Yeah, I mean, then they're sitting there, they're trying to guard the thing and not let anybody walk in front of it, but nobody's paying attention, so people keep walking in front of it. But really good atmosphere, man. And you got the helicopter fly over. The cadets were getting after it, and I know everybody's like, oh. We tweeted something like every student section should look like this, and everybody said, well, they're required to be there. They're not required to be as loud and as effective as they were.
Honestly,
you can't require that.
I wish universities would require their students to go.
At least the Greeks or some kind of contingent.
Yeah.
And they're right there in that end zone, man. When you're coming out of that end zone, it's rough. It is rough.
Well, let's talk about the game, Sprouse. I mean, I tell you what, I'll just start and then you can take it. There is something to be said. I know Army had the bad showing against Notre Dame, but outside of that, they don't blink. They do not blink. They just do their job exactly how they're supposed to do it, and they don't ever sweat anything. They really don't. Tulane, from the opening snap, they would move the ball. You talked about that inside zone. They were gashing them with that inside zone, and then they get to the red zone, and then they just stall out, or a bad snap, or something would happen, and it would go in Army's favor. And then they would get the ball, and they would just methodically move it down the field. It was cold. You could see that playing into a factor. After a little while, like Tulane they just didn't want to hit anymore, and it just was deflating. And I couldn't imagine having to play that Army team. And Bryson Daly he's Captain America, boy. He was fun to watch.
They crush your soul, man.
That's exactly it.
Because listen to this. So here Army went 0 penalties, 0 turnovers, and 0 punts. Although neither team punted, by the way. But each team only had 6 real possessions. Army technically had 8, but 2 of them were at the end of each half where they're not trying to score. So Army scored a touchdown on 5 out of 6 possessions. So then you look at this, you look at the way this game went, and we were standing there in the end zone. We were talking about it. So Tulane starts the game and goes right down the field. I mean, really. And then they botch that field goal on the very first drive. And then Army goes down and scores a touchdown. Okay. And then Army goes up 14-0. And you're thinking, okay, Tulane's got to score here. And then they didn't again. And then the one possession that Tulane got to stop when Army went for it, which I thought was questionable. Army went for it on a fourth and goal.
It's like 4th and goal, but it was 4 yards.
From the 4. They went for it, and Tulane stopped them. So now it's 14-0. And you're thinking, okay, You got a chance here. And then they throw the pick in their own, and then Army goes right down and scores. And that was the game because, look, you get down 2 touchdowns against Army, especially the way that they were gashing you on offense. That's going to be tough. But 3 touchdowns is insurmountable. You can't, I mean, there's
not enough possessions left in the game.
You're only getting 6 in the whole game, and you've already not scored on 3 of them. And now you're down 21-0. So where are you going to make it up? Now you gotta score every time you touch the ball, and you got to stop them every time they touch the ball, which you're not doing. But the turnovers for Tulane, they fumbled the kickoff, which was it was a nice return. They had some drops again, and we were talking about it. I don't know if this is the case or not, but they all are out there with like Vaseline or something all over their bodies trying to stay warm because they say it closes the pores or whatever. Like, last I checked, Jeff, Vaseline is quite slick.
Yep.
Not a very grippy piece of material. So, I mean, I don't know. You got to wonder if that had some effect on it.
We had the fumbles the week before at Tulane against Memphis, and we were talking to some people. It got cold that game too. So you just wonder if that Vaseline is causing some of the fumbling issues. I don't know, but and then I know Joe said something in the chat. Does Mensa, did he know he was leaving? Did he know he was getting in the portal the last 2 weeks? Have no idea. But you got to give credit to Army and Jeff Monken. I mean, they know who they are and they don't deviate from it. Cool heads, hot hearts. I love that. I mean, that's just it was a great experience. I couldn't really ask for a better trip. And then to see Army win a conference championship, at West Point, it was just great.
Well, and I'll say one other thing, and we talked about this. This was the big question going into this game was how long was Tulane going to be willing to tackle and willing to play? And you saw it throughout the game because you saw the defense, they got that big stop down 14-0. But then you get the turnover, you got to go right back out there. And now you're down 3 touchdowns, okay? And it's cold. And I'm telling you, we've been on the sideline of games that's miserable weather like that. And if it starts getting out of hand one way or another, and sometimes even if it's close, all you want to do is just go back to the locker room. You just want to get out of there. It's so cold and miserable. And when you're losing and you're playing a team that's as physical as Army is, and it's just going to run the ball. And then it's like, again, I said they crush your soul, but it's like, not only you got to stop them 3 times, you got to stop them 4 times most of the time because they're going for it if it's 4th and less than 5. They're going for it. So it's like, and every time you think you got them, they go get another first down, and then you're back out. Then you're still out there every single time. And I mean, it's mentally, it just kills you, man. Kills you. And you watched it live. Man, but credit to Army. They're damn good, boy. Their offense is a machine. And this is why they're so good this year. They actually have weapons that they typically wouldn't have. Udo's a stud, Noah Short's a stud, and then Daly, of course. But I don't know. I don't think we have time, but nobody's talking about their argument for the playoff. I mean,
yeah, or Daly's argument for the Heisman.
Yeah.
But I think he's a finalist. I think I read that.
Is that? I don't know if that's official yet.
Is it not?
I think Army was trying to make it. They said they were going to have some helicopters ready for him in D.C. after the Navy game.
Yeah.
But I mean, their only loss, they got beat pretty bad by Notre Dame, but we were arguing for Alabama to make it, and they got beat really bad by a bad team.
Yeah.
Clemson did make it. I know they won their conference. Clemson won it as a conference champion. Got beat by 30 points by Georgia. But anyway, we got to move on. Mountain West game. I mean, look, this was Boise got it done. UNLV, and you wonder again here how the cold affected this game because UNLV offensively in the first half, punt, missed field goal, interception. That was your first half. You ain't gonna win any games like that.
Yeah,
you ain't gonna win any games.
They
like
couldn't
that.
run the ball either. They got going late. But if you look at the warmer weather dome teams in championship games, had to go outside, play a game that they don't want to play, as far as schematic wise. And the teams that were physical and pounded the rock, they're the ones that came out on top. So
Yeah.
We talked about the college football playoff having home games. I'm telling you, those teams don't want to go up north or up in the mountains and play a freaking 25-degree smash mouth football game. They just don't.
Nope. You don't want to do it. And that's what you're going to look at in the playoff, right? SMU got to go up to Penn State. They don't want any part of that. I mean, but, in that game is a relatively clean game, not a ton of penalties. UNLV had 5 penalties, but they just came at drive-killing times. They get the 80-yard run. The guy gets hawked down at the 5-yard line, and then they immediately get a delay of game. You know what I mean? How can that happen? And it's a drive killer. Now, instead of first and goal from the 5, you're first and goal from the 10, and then you don't get any points. You walk out of that drive with no points. And those are momentum killers, game killers. It's tough. And offensively for Boise, right? We know about Genty. He had another great game. And I'll say he's starting to look like the Genty of the first couple of weeks, I think. On that big run he had, he looked a lot fat. He looked fast, ran away from everybody again. But I was telling you before the game, Jeff, they got a little X factor in that tight end. Louder.
Yeah.
He only gets like 3-4 catches a game, but they are timely. And he's a great weapon for Madsen when he's rolling. Madsen's rolling out all the time. And I don't know. I like our chances, Jeff.
I do too. And Madsen, he played well. Genty obviously had over 200 yards and a touchdown, but Madsen for the most part played pretty clean, and they're going to need him to because they're going to get heavy boxes. I really think that's what they're going to get, and they're going to play man coverage in the back end, and he's going to have to make good, accurate, timely throws. That's what you have to do in man coverage, unless you just got guys, that can really beat defensive backs off the line of scrimmage and go. It's going to be tight coverage. You got to be on time. You got to put it where your guy can get it. And if you throw it late or you throw it behind, that's how interceptions happen in man coverage. So Madsen's going to have to be ready to go, but they get a long layoff now. You get the bye. They're not playing till New Year's, so it's effectively about 3 weeks or so, right? Think so?
Yep.
So how do they stay locked in, ready to go for 3 weeks until they play? And then you got to, Boise, you got a game plan, right? Who are you game planning for? You got 2 teams. You don't know until, a week prior or whatever, a week and a half prior. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, they got to start getting on. I think you probably start getting on both of them a little bit, and you get real comfortable with their basic stuff as far as running cards and scout teams and stuff like that. And then immediately after you got to dial in, and because you're still going to have a week and a half after that game to game plan. So you're still going to get a longer week. But for them, man, it's get that O-line healthy, make sure Genty is healthy, and stay locked in. That's a long layoff. It's a really long layoff. And here's the thing. I know Boise's used to playing in big games, but they're going to spend the next 3 weeks getting pat on the back all the time. Everybody's going to be celebrating them, telling them how great they are. So can't let that get to them. You went on to Conference USA. I mean, this was Trey Stewart. This was Tyler Huff. Masterclass by Rich Rod in Jacksonville State. Now, is he gone yet or going? He said he wasn't.
I don't think so. I mean, I hadn't seen him officially going anywhere. I mean, they remind me. I mean, to me, they're like damn near an academy school. Like just the way their offense operates. I know they do a lot of it out of the gun, but it's same triple option principles a lot of the time. Window dressing it with motion, like unblocking a player, reading them and pulling, and we're going off of it. And Tyler Huff, we said that was the key to the game. He plays and they dominate, literally dominate. 386 yards total rushing, had 176 passing as well, but he was 11 of 15 with 2 touchdowns. That's super efficient. That's what he's done pretty much all year since he took over. And Western they just couldn't keep up, didn't have an answer for it.
Yeah, they turned it over a couple of times, and I mean that game was out of reach quite quickly. And then you go on to the MAC, same thing, man. Listen, Ohio put up almost 500 yards of offense on that Miami defense. That's one thing I did not expect. I expected more of a defensive matchup in this one. and then Miami offensively didn't do much at all. Only had 190 yards total offense. So that explains that game. 38-3. Ooh. And then Tim Albin.
Yeah.
Deuces.
You know, he's been there a long time, and he said after the game, in the post-game presser, he was like, this might be the most complete 4-quarter game any of my teams have ever played. And Parker Navarro, you know, we've talked about him just especially late. These last like 5 games, he has played lights out.
Yeah.
Not only passing, but running the ball. Anthony Tyus had 27 carries, 151 yards, and a touchdown. They just pretty much did whatever they want against, honestly, truly a very, very good Miami defense. And Miami kind of looked like the team they were at the beginning of the season. Couldn't get much going offensively. Ohio's defense shined. Credit to the Bobcats and Tim Albin. Now, where do they go from here is the question. Who are they going to get to fill that coaching vacancy? Who leaves? You know, you got all these questions now.
Yeah. Well, nobody repeats in the MAC anyway, so that'll be
True.
No worries there. And then on the Sun Belt, same thing. This is a weird one where the two teams that coaches were gone played the best. Normally it doesn't happen that way. Marshall, I mean, they rolled too. Now Louisiana, Fields got knocked out of the game relatively early, so now you're on to QB3, and Beal he just couldn't get anything going. I mean, Marshall's defense is very, very good, but a little unfair to have any expectations there. And I'll say this: I don't understand what's happening in Lafayette because there wasn't a very good showing of fans there. I just don't get it. Again, it's about everybody now. Every excuse that everybody says of why they don't go to games gets debunked every year, and they still don't go. And it's an excuse. It always is. And again, I just wish people would be more honest because it's like there's no other games. Your other two schools, well, Tulane had already played. Okay, if you're a Tulane guy, they played them Friday night away. LSU hadn't played in a couple weeks now. Hadn't played a meaningful game in several weeks. You got a home conference championship game for a 10-win team. Nobody, and they don't show up. It sucks, man.
It does.
Honestly, it sucks. And then you see on Facebook and on Twitter, there's a lot of these schools have this dynamic where the students act a certain way and the non-students don't like it. And it's like a disconnect. And maybe it's because they got the students sitting amongst everybody else kind of. And I think people maybe don't quite understand like some of the things that are typically said in student sections. But it turns people off, which is fine. You know, that's whatever. But then it goes from, oh, these students are too rowdy, they're saying inappropriate stuff, to then the students, we're not allowed to have fun, we're not allowed to go to the game, or you know what I mean? And then so you have this big disconnect, and then nobody wants to go. And I think that's what you kind of have happening right now in Louisiana.
Yeah, I hate it for them. I hate it for the Cajun faithful. I hate it for Terry Johnson. I mean, then in this game in particular, they were so strapped. I mean, the quarterback number 3. Most people barely have a QB1. So you're asking a lot. They couldn't run the ball, and you got to give credit to Marshall and Coach Huff having their team ready to go with all the speculation. Braylon Braxton played well. Jordan Houston had over 100 yards rushing and a touchdown. And Marshall showed their dominance, you know, and Sprouse, I got to give you credit. You calling this from early in the season. Like, I think Marshall's got something, and they ended up putting it all together, winning the Sun Belt title, and now they got to replace it all.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Jeff, I will say I was 4 out of 5 on my game day predictions this week. So you're aware. Now we go back and look at preseason. Boise, the only one I had, I think. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Not good. One for 5 preseason predictions for me this year. Had a couple of teams in it that I had in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, credit to those 5, man, conference champions. You're walking away from the season a champion. And see, this is where, you know, I like the playoff. I do. I like having a seat at the table, but what I don't like about it is I think it has the playoff and the portal have diminished bowl season, because this is where you would get to see those games that you don't normally get to see. Like, in the chat, people say, would Army beat Indiana? Be a bowl game I'd love to see on a normal year. So, it's a shame. Don't know how you can make it more meaningful now that everybody does have kind of a shot to make the playoff. Your goal can be, you can not hit your goal and it could kind of put a damper on your whole season. So that kind of sucks, but still some good matchups to watch. These guys are all still champions. They're still going to hang a banner. They're still going to have a trophy in their facility. So you got to give credit to them. Do we have voicemails, Jeff?
We do. We got a couple.
Well, let's get to those voicemails. And we'll be back Wednesday morning, probably going to talk more about this portal stuff and agents and all of the fun stuff. And then, Friday, we got bowl games already this weekend. And then we got Army Navy on Saturday as well. So we got some big games this weekend. And then we'll update you guys on our path to the Fiesta Bowl December 31st. So no New Year's Eve party for the Sprouses and the Murphys this year, unfortunately. But let's get the voicemail, 615-900-4286. Let's see what we got.
Group of 5 guys, what's happening? It's Josh Bevel here. Friday afternoon here in beautiful, beautiful Houston County, Georgia. Not much on the Georgia Southern Eagles this week. Obviously, we're not playing in the conference championship game. Speaking of that, rooting for the Raging Cajuns. Hopefully on Monday when this is played, Terry Johnson's just loving his life being a conference champ. I want it for him. I want it for the Cajuns. Go out there and beat Marshall for us. But anyway, we're playing Sam Houston in the bowl game, going to the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl. Boys, we're back on Bourbon Street. We're so freaking back on Bourbon Street. I'm fired up. When we played in the New Orleans Bowl a couple years ago, it was COVID and we couldn't really do anything, so it was a dumb bowl game, but we won. So we La Tech that year, but I'll take it. So recruiting update here, we had the signing day for the Eagles. I believe the Eagles signed 19 or 20 guys. So some big names for me is Isaac Turner, 6'5", 300 pounds. Offensive lineman. Brendan Stoner, 6'4", 315. But I'm telling you, a guy to be on the lookout for is Weston Bryan. He is a quarterback. He is 6'4", 240 listed on Georgia Southern's official little recruiting site that they put out. So big old kid. He's 4-star athlete from Lee County, Georgia. But, hey, last thing I got, 247 Ben Moore. Dude, this guy's a clown. He's an absolute clown. I truly don't understand this guy. He thinks Georgia State's got the best recruiting class in the Sun Belt because they signed 22, 23 guys. Well, guess what, buddy? They're all terrible. They're all terrible, just like your team. We own you. You're our little brother, and you'll forever be our little brother, pal. I really could spout off some choice words, but I'm not going to here. But good gosh, this guy's a freaking idiot. I hope he listens to this because, dude, just give it up. You suck. Georgia State sucks, and you'll never be good. God bless the group of 5 guys. God bless the group of 5. Hail Southern.
Appreciate you, Josh.
He just progressively got more fired up as the call. Not much going on here, kind of calm and collected. Yeah, Ben Moore was going back and forth with some Southern fans. That was you need that guy. You need that, you know. You but hey, Georgia State. They won just as many SEC games as a lot of teams did. So they did win just as many SEC games as they won Sun Belt games. So take that for what it's worth, Greg Sankey.
Yeah, really. Now this high school recruiting, we're gonna have a guy on. We're gonna have a guy on from Rivals, and he's gonna give us the back. What's going on behind the scenes, how it works, how they rank. Like we're gonna try and get some information so we can better understand how the rankings and all this stuff works, and it's gonna be interesting. We'll keep you guys posted on that.
Also, the high school classes now. I mean, you got to think how many of those guys are going to be on the roster still when it's time for them to play. So anyway, what we got next?
Let's keep it rolling.
Hey, group of 5 guys. It's Terry Johnson right here.
Oh no!
I'm calling while the conference championship game is in the about to go into halftime, and we're down 17-3. Our third string quarterback in the game, Chandler Fields, got knocked out, and we're not coming back. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Shout out to Coach House for the win. Yeah, hope he has a great career. Doesn't miss where the fuck he goes. And yeah, I should have just saw this coming. I knew for a fact this shit would let me down. I knew it would let me down. I knew it would. It would. And I think he proved a lot of people wrong this season. And I think he's a good coach. And you know what I'm saying? I think he's going to do well. I think he's going to be great. I'm happy he's our head coach. But yeah, just can't come back when you have a freshman, third string quarterback in the game. You got a team as good as Marshall on the field. So Cajun Nation couldn't turn out for the game for home field advantage because it's raining or whatever excuse they want to give. And I get it. Some people, it's just hard to get out there when it's really rainy and cold. I understand, but just as bad as we lost on our home field and we didn't have anybody at the game. So, yeah, I'm really, I've been drinking, so I'm pretty depressed right now. Alcohol is depressing everybody, just so you know. So, in the end, just happy Boise State, I guess. Hopefully, I hope Boise State gets the 4th seed and gets the bye, and hopefully they can represent the G5 well in the playoffs. And hopefully we don't have too many portals out. I know we're going to lose a lot of guys in the portal, some good guys. But hey, a lot of other teams have had worse seasons than we have, and we did pretty well. So I'm happy about that. And so whoever we get for a bowl opponent, hopefully we prepare well. And if whether it's Chandler Fields or Daniel Beal, whoever the quarterback is, hopefully they play well. And God bless Group of 5 guys. God bless the Group of 5 Caucasians.
Terry, it was a great season, my friend. You have a lot to be proud of. I know championship didn't come to fruition, but
yep.
I think very few people thought the Cajuns were even going to be in this position. So if there's a moral win there, it's a great season.
Yeah, I mean, that's the life of being a sports fan, isn't it? Only one team's going to win.
That's it.
Only one team is going to do it. So I mean, it's it's a tough break for Terry. Although I will say, Terry, I'm fairly certain I did have them in that position, losing in the conference championship game. Now, I did not have them losing to Marshall. I had them losing to not even Appalachian State, which, my God, that didn't work out. But anyway, it's a good season for the Cajuns. But yeah, most people didn't think. Yeah, he answered a lot of questions. And now, again, you've got a culture in that building now. You keep your core guys, fill some spots, you'll be just fine.
Keep building. All right, we got 2 left.
Hey, fellas. Morgan here, resident Tulane fan. First, just wanted to say I really appreciate your coverage up at West Point. That was a great show, and appreciate you showing some of the behind-the-scenes stuff up there. They've pretty clearly got a pretty good thing going on, given what transpired in the game. You know, obviously, disappointing loss. I'm not sure if it was the moment, the cold, or just the vibes. Obviously, we didn't deserve to win that game, and Army played. They basically pitched a perfect game for themselves. So credit Army. I mean, obviously they run their operation to an A+. So tough pill to swallow, but at the end of the day, still a very successful season. And obviously, we're getting a really good bowl game against Florida in the Gasparilla Bowl. And I said the other day in one of my tweets, I'd much rather deal with the pain of having higher expectations than knowing there's not a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think, this season has proven that, we can still build on this success, and we're just scratching the potential of what we can build. So really looking forward to next year, and obviously now we just got the news that Coach Sumrall is coming back, which is huge. And yeah, I know it might only be for another year, maybe 2, but I obviously hope it's longer. But now looking forward to really building on this year and building on the accomplishments that we were able to do, and hopefully we can conclude the year with a big bowl win. So again, looking forward to hopefully a big bowl win and great coverage up in West Point. And as always, roll wave. Thanks, fellas. Bye.
Appreciate you, Morgan. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the only way you can look at it. You enjoy the time that you have when you have a good coach and a good staff, and could be a whole lot worse. Could have a 2-win season like our alma mater. So.
Well, you could. And we talked to Coach Summerall a little bit before the game, and I mean, he just a couple of the things that he was saying is they can do anything they want at Tulane. So I think you have a coach that's locked into getting all the resources necessary to build a championship program, not just a championship team, right? Big difference.
Yep.
Big difference between you win one championship and then your coach leaves and then it's done. Program, you keep on doing. Coaches come in and out, players come in and out, fans stay, and you're always in it. You're going to have, at the end of the year, in November, Tulane's always going to be playing meaningful football.
That's literally all you can ask for. But that only happens when you got complete buy-in from the university, from the athletic department, telling you got the right leader in the position, get him what he needs. And I think sky's the limit for Tulane. Let's get to our last call. To the victor goes the spoils.
Oh, boy.
Army is the 2024 American Conference champions. Can you believe it, gentlemen? First of all, God bless you all for making that trip up to West Point. I was so out of my head and nervous on Friday. I didn't even know y'all made a show. And here I am last night, Saturday night, sitting down to enjoy some college football. And all of a sudden, I see on my YouTubes that I missed a show from Trophy Point. I'm sorry that I did, fellas. But, hey, great job up there, and a tip of the cap to Army. I can't believe we won that game the way that we did. I knew it was, I expected a dogfight. I knew we were going to win, but boy, oh boy, absolute total domination, start to finish. And, listen, I want to say that, I want to give praise to the Tulane players, but, look, I live on college football Twitter, and I just didn't realize how horribly toxic the Tulane fan base on Twitter is. I got to say, the schadenfreude that I've been feeling ever since that win Friday night, incredible. So, look, Bryson Daly, 4 touchdowns. I mean, talk about the man of the hour. Kanye Udo putting in another touchdown, going for 72 in one clip. Unreal. Trey Granati, our kicker. All right, he's causing fumbles on kick returns. This was an absolute dominating performance, start to finish, top to bottom. Couldn't be prouder of my Black Knights. Now we got Saturday. We got the biggest game of the season. Bowl games be damned. Conference championships be damned. The Commander-in-Chief's trophy against Navy. So it's all in for that, man. It's all in for that. We're going to get some bowl game today. It's going to be great, whatever. But at this point, 11 wins, conference champions, CIC on the line. Man, what an incredible year. And I don't know. I'm knocking on wood. I'm crossing my fingers. I'm rubbing my rabbit's feet. I'm hoping that Jeff Monken stays. I think he could very easily get poached by somebody, but maybe his coaching style and his interest in actually developing players and not having to deal with NIL and not having to deal with the transfer portal will be enough to keep him at Army. I don't know if it will or not, but let me tell you what, boys, it's a great day to be a Black Knight fan. Go Army. God bless Group of 5 guys. Whew. Couldn't be happier.
Appreciate it, my man. You deserve it.
You absolutely do. Monken, it's funny because we were talking about it before the game. He looks like he is a West Point guy.
He does.
Like you look at him and you're like, that guy's 100% been in the Army. I mean, but yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I think the academy coaches get passed over because it's funny. I remember specifically this. So Coach Calhoun, who's still at Air Force, who's been there for 20 years, in 2009, I guess it would have been, he was on the board to get the Tennessee job. And the toxic ass Tennessee fan base got all over the message boards and were like, we cannot run the triple option here. And it's like, no, you idiots. Like, the academies don't run the option because that's the coach's scheme. They run the option because that's the personnel that they have. You stupid asses. So I think sometimes they get passed up, though, because of that. Like, everybody thinks, like, well, can they run a real offense, as they say? But hell, I don't know. You go run the option at a place like that, and yeah, I bet you have some success. Problem is, you got to flip your roster with the type of O-line, like the type of size and type of guys you have. But Army, man, they deserve every bit of it. They had themselves a season. Now they better go win the next one. Otherwise, this season is going to look a whole lot worse than it does right now.
And I didn't realize, like, I know you got Air Force in that, the CIC deal, but everywhere at West Point is go Army.
Everywhere, beat Navy. I got news for my Air Force buddies. There ain't a single anything to do with Air Force at that point. At Air Force in the weight room and all over, you have to beat Army, sink Navy is everywhere. But hey, there's no mention of the Falcons.
At least if there is, we didn't see it.
Yeah, we sure didn't see it. Now I'm sure that week is pretty dialed in. But I want to say one other thing that we didn't mention about there. I'll tell you this. That Southgate Tavern.
Oh, yeah.
The fantastic little hole in the wall, cash only bar. Great spot for pre or post game. If you're wanting to have a couple.
Nice.
Now they're watching the news in there. They're not watching sports in there. They had Newsmax on the TV, which was pretty damn entertaining. I'll say that, man. But that was cool. We got to meet some people. We got to meet a 101st veteran that was back for however many year reunion.
Yeah.
You got to meet Vinnie Murphy's dad, Tulane Center's dad at the bar. A couple Tulane fans in there. Good spot. Really cool spot. A lot of cool pictures and memorabilia and stuff all over the walls. Yeah. Anyway, is that all we got voicemail wise, Jeff? That's it.
Take us home.
Season's coming to an end, Jeff.
Sort of sad.
I'm going to say one final thing before we go, because last year we had to address this and it didn't go in our favor. Little different situation. Anybody listening to this show or following us on social media better become the biggest damn Boise State fan in the country over the next 3 weeks and beyond. Again, if you don't want them to make another change to this playoff, because if they make a change, they're going to get rid of the 5 auto bids. I'm going to tell you, they're going to try their hardest to do that. So better be rooting for Boise State to make some damn noise in this playoff. I'm going to tell you that. But anyway, while you're on that page, make sure you hit the follow button at Group of Five Guys on all the social platforms, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcasts. Subscribe to the channel. Make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you share it with your family and friends. Also share, SMU fans, they ought to know about this deal already, but Penn State fans, you want to learn about the team you're playing? Come check out the Group of Five Guys here for a couple weeks, man. We'll be glad to have you. God bless the Group of Five Guys. God bless the Group of Five. Enjoy your week.